If I ran Bayer aspirin and there were a few bottles of contaminated aspirin somewhere around the country, you know what I would have to do? Pull every bottle off the shelves until we figured it out.
So are you saying that Facebook should take all the comments of everybody off the shelves? I don't think so.
So I'm asking, why shouldn't they?
Because most of what happens on Facebook is good. It's cats. It's okay.
Most of the aspirin that are out there in bottles across grocery stores are okay.
But look through your feed and tell me where you find the Nazis. You know, the thing is here, Stephanie, we have to switch around. Facebook did finally get its act together. Facebook is our best ally in this fight. We have the head of DHS in this country saying, whistling past the Kremlin, saying, oh, I don't see any Russian stuff going on. Facebook is our best defense. That's where we are. And so,
Jeff,
they
took ad dollars from these outside influencers.
They take ad dollars from a lot of people, and so do media companies, and so do us all. If we want to look at an outside influencer who came in, who had the greatest impact on civil discourse in this country, it's 3 blocks away at Fox News with Rupert Murdoch. Let's try to get some perspective here on where this goes. Facebook had a big problem. They're finally addressing it, late, but they're coming to the party. And what we need to do in journalism and media is help in this to try to identify things. They're not the enemy. Russia's the enemy.
I think it's positive that Facebook is coming forward. They're starting to be proactive and communicate with the government, communicate with the intelligence officials, communicate with law enforcement officials so that they can actually be more proactive. And it's harder for people in government, other elected officials with partisan agendas, to deny that there's a problem.
And Elise, you know what I've heard, too, from executives at both Google and Facebook high up is they're very frustrated the government isn't sharing anything with them. Government isn't helping them because government doesn't want to.
What do you think, Bob?
I think the better analogy than your aspirin really is the fight on narcotics. We fought a fight on narcotics on street corners for 50 years and failed for 50 years. Eventually, you had to take this to the poppy fields overseas at the production. This is going to be won or lost, not by what Facebook does, although I would commend what they did in the last 24 hours. This is a fight you take to the Russians, to the Chinese, to the source, make it not worthwhile. If we're going to start policing ourselves, the slippery slope, because the Russians easily can go and start operating then through some American. And now we're controlling free speech in America. This has to be stamped out and not made worthwhile in the Kremlin.
Do you think the government will? Do you think Trump's not likely to do any of that?
We have no coordinated effort from the administration.
Apparently not.
Right.
But that's something the American people need to consider. That this is not as a political problem. This is going to become a free speech problem in our national discourse if this is not solved. And that's the price of not confronting the Russians.
Amen.
Even if social media companies are doing better, no one really self-polices. And unless there are clear regulations and guardrails, do you really think they're going to find the right path here? In the banking industry, if you weren't going to get in trouble for doing business with unsavory counterparties, there are some people who would do it.
Who sets those guardrails? And I don't trust the Trump administration to do so. I do not trust the Trump administration in any way to set these guardrails, but I do insist that the companies themselves. I have what I call the InfoWars test,
okay, you
which Facebook failed and failed and failed. They just succeeded. They finally took down InfoWars. Finally. I think that they've got to have tougher standards where Mark Zuckerberg is not responsible for free speech in this country. Mark Zuckerberg runs a private company where he can say this belongs on my platform and this doesn't. So yes, I agree. They've got to set higher standards for human behavior there. But keep it in mind the scale. Zuckerberg said at the developer conference a few months ago, they kill 1 million fake accounts a day. So it's not as if you have some human sitting there saying, oh, that looks Russian. It doesn't happen, right? You've got to have the ability to have rules that can be run through algorithms, hate to say it, AI, where they can try to scale this. It's a hard job. The problem here, I agree with the senator, is in the end human behavior. It's not technology. It's the problem is human behavior on technology, especially some small number of manipulators.
But you mentioned InfoWars, and that's an interesting example because right now Alex Jones faces huge legal pressure from the actual families of the Sandy Hook survivors that he's defamed. And so one thing that was not taken down from Facebook was an InfoWars video talking about accusing Robert Mueller of being a pedophile. And so that passed the smell test somehow with Facebook. I mean, I don't see where they've really,
Well, Facebook left up InfoWars for a long time, and only in the last week did they say, well, it fails a bullying test. That's bullying, too. I think they've got to raise their standards. I agree with you there.
I understand that there's a very high threshold for defamation when it comes to a public official, but that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not even defamation in this case. It's just crappy speech that Facebook can say they don't want.
But then, Bob, I turn to you. Then this becomes a situation where conservatives say you're just attacking us for our views because you don't like them.
Yeah, and it's, I'll go back to my greater concern here is not just the views, and we got to focus on this, is we're all discussing, maybe from different perspectives, setting up an arbitration in American speech. This could not be a more dangerous conversation. The cure could be worse than the disease.
Thank you for saying
I
that.
agree.
It means that we're sitting here debating, should Facebook be the arbiter of what gets into the national discourse, or should it be to the government? Well, I don't want either. I don't like what's going on, but look at the cure you're talking about. This is the ultimate slippery slope.
But this is a propaganda fight. Why is a private company in charge of deciding how we stop propaganda infiltrating the American democracy?
Because our government is complicit, thank you, with that propaganda. And so, as I say, they're our last best hope. And I agree with the senator. This is a slippery slope. But at some level, this is not about free speech on Facebook. It is about Facebook setting the standard for human behavior. Right? You run a bar. I'm in Steph's bar. And Steph says, Jeff, I'm sorry, I'm not going to serve you because you're just a bozo. Please get out. You have the right to do that. Mark Zuckerberg has the right to do that, and he has to realize that at some level. But it's not about controlling what goes in the it's about him not
He
being
has the
controlled.
right at some level, and you're coming off a week when the White House kicked a journalist out for doing her job. So if Mark Zuckerberg gets to say, you're a bozo, get out, the president wants to say, you're a bozo, get out, to any hardworking journalist who's fact-checking his daily lies.
Well, the White House and the press have always had, a tough relationship, but it's generally been in the benefit of both to coexist. And the president doesn't necessarily see the benefit of that established relationship. And so he's basically exerting what he has. He has the power to do that. Is it right? I don't think so.
He's not a private company.
But
he does have a public responsibility.
Yes.
He being the president.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you this. If I had a choice between the federal government or a multi-billion-dollar corporation deciding what gets in the American discourse, or run the risk of a variety of voices, including irresponsible ones, maybe including foreign ones, getting heard in the United States, that's a tough choice. I think I'd take my risks.
You're in a multi-billion-dollar company right now that does that. Media has always done that. The difference now,
I choose the private sector any day.
What was so wonderful about the internet, I thought, is that we were getting away from free speech cost $1 billion to get in the game.
Exactly.
And we were going to have ordinary Americans speak. That's what was so wonderful. Now we're losing that. And if you're going to set up major corporations or the U.S. government being an arbiter of speech, it's really gone.
I agree. The problem is we have manipulators who are ahead of the game, who realize how to play into the weakness of our system. And the weakness of our system is free
all right,
speech.
so let's just say, against all hope, that the Trump administration actually stepped up, defended the country, and went to the Russians and made this too expensive to do, which they should.
Which they won't, but
even if they did, many of those same irresponsible voices saying the same things for a variety of cultural reasons we don't have to discuss are right here.
Yes.
They're coming in anyway. The way you destroy irresponsible speech is you drown it out with responsible speech.
I agree. And the other way you do it is you start to set standards. Now I think we have this loosening of emotions on the internet where anybody can say anything. At some point, you have to say to your friend, did you really mean to do that?
Exactly. This ultimately gets solved not just by the U.S. government or by billion-dollar corporations. It gets solved by the American people.
Amen.
We win or lose our democracy ourselves.
Amen.
Last point to you, Elise.
Yeah, I'm not that confident. I think that people love their crazy speech on the internet, and I don't see people retreating and toning it down.
That doesn't mean I have to
soon.
believe it. Let me tell you one of the things I learned in my political career. When I started, I would read something or hear somebody say things, oh my God, the world. Then you come to believe people do have a filter. And yes, somebody may. But you can't react to everything you read or see. People are not as stupid as they appear. I think there was a Lincoln line that if you see the individual American, it'll scare the life out of you for our democracy. But there is a collective wisdom to it.
Also, if you sit down face to face with someone, people aren't evil. They want to live their best lives. When you go after a Trump supporter and you say, those people are ignorant, they want this, they wanted to live a better life, and the system they were living in wasn't serving them.
Exactly.
Yes.
Those aren't people who are born out of hate and want to just create violence.
The hardest problem we have is civility, and that's a precondition to being open to other viewpoints and to facts.
People want to be socially free, physically safe, and financially secure. That's why they get up and vote, And it's our job to help people live their best lives.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.